Goose, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, it was when I was a kid. I remember just watching you, and it was just such an iconic name. And then you had that pitching style and everything else, and you're just such an easy player to remember and cheer for, and just a fun player to watch.
Well, when I ran into my house, my father had passed away when I was a junior in high school. This is in Colorado Springs, and I didn't know if I was going to get the opportunity to play professional baseball. I had a lot of scholarships, and I ran in the house that day. My father had passed away when I was a junior in high school, and I came running. I graduated 2 days before out of high school, and I'm looking forward to furthering my education. I got a lot of scholarships, and I ran in the house, and I said, Mom, I got a job coaching the kids at the youth sports complex the park that I grew up playing my youth baseball. And she says, well, Rick, she said, this gentleman has a job for you too. And I turned around, I'd run right by him, and it was a scout from the Chicago White Sox informing me right then and there that I was drafted. And that was the first opportunity that I never thought I'd ever get, or maybe and right then and there, I started my journey into the big leagues, and it was an amazing. All I wanted to do when I started out was put a big league uniform on one time, and it turned into 22 years.
I was going to say, you had such a longevity to your career too. I mean, you really, and back then, I was doing some research when I was prepping for this podcast, and you pitched, I think, 147 innings as a relief pitcher one time. It's like, you think about that now, that's absurd.
It is, and they've created this absurdness, these nerds. I say it's the revenge of the nerds, and, it's not baseball. What they're doing to this game is just, it's like they cut my heart out. The commissioner from on down, a dead fish stinks from the head down. So you got a bunch of nerds. It's the revenge of the nerds that won their rotisserie leagues at Harvard and Yale and all these brainiac, and they're brainiac kids, but they wouldn't know how to they'd probably put a jock on backwards.
Yeah, it's as a fan, it's not as fun to watch. You see a guy hit a line drive up the middle, and they got a guy standing right there, and like the shifts and some of the other things they've done, and it's taken away a little bit of it has taken away a little bit of, as a fan, of like what you love about baseball.
Well, everything about baseball was for 100 years. All the stats, 500 home runs meant 500 home runs.
Sure.
Now they've manipulated the ballparks where, these guys are pop-ups go out. Yankee Stadium's a joke, for example. And all these ballparks, they built them. They wanted these people running the game today wanted to put more offense in the game because they thought but there's nothing better than a pitching duel. They've created, I said, the pussies that are running the game have created a bunch of pussies. And every big leaguer I see, don't let the pussies turn you into a pussy.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. To give somebody a pitch count, why would you do that? That's debilitating in anything. You can only lift this much weight. You can only do this. And because of money, this is what's controlling the game. When they had 20 grand in us, they didn't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
And threw us to the wolves, right? And we built up endurance, and we got stronger as the season went on. These guys are breaking down now.
I was going to say they get hurt more now than ever too.
Well, they pitch less and they break down more than ever. So, what argument do you have? And it's all because of money. Like I said, when they had 20, we got in shape. We got stronger when the season ended. We were ready. We were loaded for bear. We were ready for the playoffs. We were ready for anything that they could dish out, whatever workload it was. And now that's just not the case. It's a bunch of pussies turning a bunch of pussies into pussies.
Yeah. Well, you really changed the position of relief pitcher forever. I mean, it was, Rollie Fingers and you were really the first two guys that became that specialist, that guy that was going in and close out the game for you.
Well, closer. I resent being called a closer. I'm not a closer. I was a relief pitcher. Just like comparing me to Mariano is like comparing Bob Gibson to one of these 5-inning guys today. It is.
Sure.
It's the same
3 inning
thing.
saves over and over.
Hey, don't
right?
take anything, but they've fallen all over themselves with the closer, the 1-inning guy. Compare apples to apples. Me and Mariano. It's not even close.
Yeah.
What I did and what he did, it's just like comparing Bob Gibson to a 5-inning guy today or 100 pitches. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Jesus, Bob Gibson and those guys, oh my God, they were studs. You know, they prided themselves on finishing what they started. That's gone.
Yeah.
Everything about the game, the shift, what a bunch of shit that was. All of it is. And our commissioner sucks.
Well, you played in an era when, you know, you had George Steinbrenner was obviously your owner, and when you were playing for the Yankees. What do you think he would think of everything today?
Oh, all the old baseball people are rolling over in their graves, you know. The nerds of yesteryear, the executives, they surrounded themselves with great baseball men, and they learned the game in the process. The scouts were their eyes, and in the turn, they learned the game. These great general managers of the past, and that's gone.
Yeah.
You know, the general managers of today, if it doesn't come out of that stupid ass computer, it doesn't come out.
Well, something that I found interesting, you know, the movie Moneyball, right, that talks about all the start of all the analytics and everything. The problem with that movie or with that idea is the A's haven't won shit since they started doing it.
And neither have the Yankees.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
Look at the Yankees.
That's a good point.
Brian Cashman must have pictures on somebody in that organization.
It's crazy that he still has a job
keeping them
with that payroll.
He's holding them hostage. You know, the Yankees, as great as the greatest franchise in any sport anywhere on the planet, right? The New York Yankees. What they've done to that, Mr. Steinbrenner, George, is rolling over in his grave. His son, it's a rudderless ship. It's not being run by anybody. That's why they haven't won in how many years? A dozen years?
Yeah, they won one time.
15 years?
They won one championship in 2009, I think, or 2008 since the year 2000. You know, that was...
So, you know, it's
25,
all Cashman,
24 years.
And his analytics, all the bullshit, you know, it's like they cut my heart out, these guys.
Well,
with the game.
you're in Memorial Park over there. You're one of the great Yankees that's ever played the game. What's your current relationship with the game and with the Yankees itself?
I burned a bridge. You know.
Yeah.
They said, "What are you doing these days, Goose?" I said, "Just burning bridges. That's all." I told Cashman to kiss my ass, and Hank and or Hal and Hal. What a joke! He ought to sell the team.
Yeah,
he doesn't care
he doesn't
about
have a love for it.
He doesn't. He's protecting their investment. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's a totally rudderless ship. Nick Cashman walks around the clubhouse. When I was a special instructor with the Yankees. Mr. Steinbrenner invited me back after I got out of the game in '94. I was there for 20 years. Guidry's still there, and I saw the total transformation of pitch counts, where they give a kid a pitch count. They come off the mound. How many pitches do I have? We didn't know how many pitches we ever had. You know, when we got tired, they said, "We'll come and get your ass." How's that? and the hitters will let you know when you're getting tired or when you don't have your best. Oh yeah, right. So, you know, they're taking credit for all this shit that they've done to this game, and the commissioner, same thing. He's the head of it. Here's what's so alarming. The knowledge, they don't want my knowledge. Can you imagine that? 22 years?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't know what knowledge is, because if you don't get it, what knowledge, right? If it doesn't come out of that stupid computer, that's why they don't have anybody with any say that wouldn't put up with this shit is not coaching. They're all puppets. Bochy is about the only guy that maybe has a say in how they handle the pitching staff with Maddox there.
Yeah.
You know, these guys have been there, done that.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker. You play old school baseball, and I'll kick the shit out of these guys over 162 games.
Yeah.
Get them on, get them over, get them in. The real beauty of the game, gone. They don't want my knowledge, and that's the scariest thing, that the knowledge that is leaving this game. You don't know what you might say to a kid, like I was told. Things that don't come out of a book. Things, reality stuff. And that's what's alarming me, that it's never to be found again.
If you were commissioner right now, what would be the first couple changes you'd make in the game?
Oh, I don't know where I'd start. I really don't. The whole game is upside down.
Yeah.
Any facet of the game that you want to talk about is different and totally off base of windups. Tommy House, Dr. House, right? Kinesiologist, doctor of kinesiology. He doesn't know shit, right? These piece of shit windups, no windups, are killing these kids. That's why there's so many injuries. They're not engaging the big muscles that it takes to stay away from injury. You know, Nolan Ryan pitched 25 years. He tried to show us the no windup. Nolan told him to get the fuck out of the way. and that was a side day that Nolan had down in Texas when I played with him, and Tommy House was our pitching coach. He personally, all by himself, has set pitching back 100 years. All these operations, you can't play in the big leagues unless you have Tommy John or rotator cuff surgery. Or,
Well, there's a little bit of a pitching pandemic, or right now they don't have enough players, like great pitchers. There's just so many injuries and so many guys that are on the DL,
and that's how they're going to control.
I think the Dodgers have had 12 pitchers hit the DL this year, just to give you an idea.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
proof's in the pudding.
Crazy.
Proof's in the pudding. They've stopped training. They have stopped training pitchers. And now it's all big heavy weights. All these guys dig themselves. Do they need a clock? Hell yeah, they need a clock. Our favorite saying was, let's get this sumbitch over with and go have a beer. We don't get paid for overtime. Goddamn hitters dig themselves, stand in the box, take a pitch, and then adjust every goddamn thing. Pitchers on the mound. The faster you work, the more strikes you throw, the better they're going to play behind you. Hello, you ain't putting them to goddamn sleep. This ain't rocket science. And if it doesn't come out of that stupid ass computer, they wouldn't know a baseball if it hit them in the fucking nuts.
Wow. No, you're not wrong. Well, you played in so many iconic games and iconic moments. One thing that's fun about your career is you just seem to always be in the action. You put the last out of the Bucky Dent game. You were the closeout pitcher for that. Do you have a favorite moment from your time playing, Goose?
So many. People ask me that all the time. Big games. That was the biggest game I ever played in. But winning a world championship, there's so many things. My first time on the mound in the big leagues. Oh my God! It's just
tell us about that day. The first day on the first time you took the mound.
I fell down the dugout, got up, and what we called them dry humps. I got a dry hump, right? I didn't get in the game, so I went to sit down, and the dugout was very deep down in the bullpen, and I missed the top step, and I thought I broke my neck.
Wow.
Falling down into the dugout because I was so nervous. My legs wouldn't even hold me up. And then I got in the game the next inning, and that was my first appearance. I was in Kansas City at the old ballpark in Kansas City, and from there it just. I just still have to pinch myself that I had the kind of career that I had. We had a great saying in baseball. Baseball's made up of players who have been humbled and those that soon will be.
Yeah, I mean, if you're great at it, you get out 7 out of 10 times,
That's right. How do you deal with the other 7 outs?
How has it helped you in life to be able to have that kind of background?
I think it has. I think it absolutely has. We build on the good, learn from the bad, and let it go. Mm-hmm. That's life, too.
Especially a closer. They say the best closers have a short memory, right? That's got to be.
Well, and people said, how'd you play 22 closers? I don't like that word.
Sorry, relief pitcher.
Yeah, thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you. Closer's a lame.
I did start by saying that you pitched 147 innings as a relief pitcher, which is a record to this day.
Closer. I really resent that word.
Yeah.
Because, no, we were relief pitchers. Starters still prided themselves on finishing what they started. Wow. And then we came in and mopped. Come in, they'd get in trouble. Chuck Tanner, this is how it was put to me and Terry Forrester, my first year in the big leagues. Mm-hmm. Calls us into his office. Chuck Tanner and Johnny Sane, our pitching coach, is there. Tanner calls us in. 2 chairs there. He says, sit down. We sat down. He was tough. He said, when these starters get in trouble, he goes, it's going to be your asses. Wow. We were thrown to the wolves. I mean, right out of A-ball. I came out of A-ball making the team. I made the team. I got invited to big league camp. As
White Sox, right?
White Sox. Get invited to camp as a non-roster player. And now I'm thrown to the wolves and bring it on. And it was awesome. And it was baptism under fire. I said, I either survive this or I'm going to be home doing something else. Shit the bed. I got shit the bed last night. Now I come into tonight's potential shit the bed. I'm thinking about the shit the bed last night. Guess what? I got 2 shit the bed. It's a real simple deal.
No,
I said I either get over these or I figured out these disasters or I'm going to be home doing something else. It's how we absolutely. That's a lingering when you give it up and lose that ball game after battling and your teammates and 50,000 people. And wow, you grind on that from the time you give it up to the time you come out of that game to the time you go to bed that night with a sick pit in your stomach. You close your eyes, that sick pit's in your stomach because you just gave it up a couple hours ago. Now you're going to bed or trying to go to bed. Now you wake up in the morning, those eyes open, the sick pit hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. And how I deal with that throughout the day, now I come into tonight's potential disaster after having a disaster last night, still thinking about it. It's still there. It's the elephant in the room. It's either you figure it out or you're going to be doing something else at home. That's it. And that's how it was. That's how I put it to myself. I either figure these disasters out or I'm going to be home doing something else.
Yeah,
absolutely. I wish I had a quarter for every kid that came through that bullpen with electric shit that couldn't transition it from the bullpen to what we call between the lines. When you go to that mound, wow, we in front of 50,000.
What did you do to get your mindset correct in those moments? I think that's one of the key.
It's a process. There isn't one thing that you can put your finger on. It's a process of figuring out the magnitude. You know, here's the pressure. Once you do good, they expect you to do good. So there comes the pressure. Once I started setting a bar.
Right. Well, you showed what you were capable of.
What I was capable of, coming into bases loaded, nobody out, and striking out the side, not having a ball. You couldn't even have a ball be put in play. Right. That's where I shined. That's where people don't understand what I used to do. Mariano never. How many? I'd like to know the inherited runners at Mariano. And I'm not picking on Mariano, but he's the bar, right? What a bar! I should be the bar. We should be the bar. Old starters should be the bar. That's the bar. Compare Bob Gibson to starters. There it is. Wow, those guys were workhorses. I mean, give me the ball and I'm finishing what I started. They've created a bunch of pussies today. Oh, these kids. How's a starting pitcher ever going to go into the Hall of Fame? Outside of Verlander and the guys that are...
Yeah, maybe Scherzer and a few others.
Kershaw. Scherzer.
Yeah.
Kershaw, you know. How are they ever going to... no pitchers ever going to go into the Hall of Fame? You're going to win 20 games in a 20-year career. You might win 1 game a year going 5 innings.
Yeah.
You got the 4 toughest innings coming up, unless they scored 20 runs for you.
Yeah.
There's your 1 win.
One game that I realized that you were the pitcher during this. It's one of the most iconic moments in baseball. It's a play that I used to love watching as a kid is when George Brett got caught with the pine tar.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when he's running out of the dugout and he's getting in trouble? You're the pitcher in the moment.
What I was thinking was the cheater got busted. No, he was the greatest hitter I ever faced in my prime and his prime. I faced Aaron at the tail end of his, and he couldn't catch up with. I caught him limping, I say. And Brett was in his prime and my prime, and man, he hit 2 shots. The pine tar home run, we were waiting for it because he was using illegal with pine tar on the barrel, and You can't have a foreign substance on the barrel, blah, blah, blah. And then he hit the 1980 home run off of me at Yankee Stadium into the upper deck. It was the loudest ball making contact that I ever heard. I flinched. When he made contact and it went into the upper deck at Yankee Stadium, it was the last nail in our coffin. Then they went on to be world champions in 80.
And you'd won it, what, 2 years before?
Yeah.
Your team had won it in 78, right? Okay, yeah.
Right. And we were a thorn in the Royals' side. We always faced them in the playoffs, and we just had the edge on them. That's all. Those were great teams, those Kansas City teams. And that was good old-fashioned hardball, which you don't see today. You know, everybody's loving on the field and hugging, and I hated that. I hated George Brett. He hated me. He wanted to hit one off my face, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what, you know.
But I think that's what made you so fun to cheer for and to watch. I mean, we had, you have so many iconic moments. Like I said, you have your World Series that you won in '78, and then you went back to the World Series with the Padres, and kind of a famous play. I don't know if you love to talk about that one with Kirk Gibson, but it was just one of those plays as a kid I remember stands out. That was what I loved about it was your willingness to just challenge a guy. You know, you went right after him.
Well, and that's probably shows how not smart I am. I probably do it again. So, you know, I had great success against Kirk, and I'm incidentally next week I'm going to be doing his this weekend I'm going to be doing his fundraiser up in Detroit.
Oh, great.
So, no, you know, I tipped my cap. He got me that time. He beat me, and that's respect.
Yeah.
You know, and you're seeing a lot of things today that I never got shown up in 22 years in the big leagues. I never got shown up, and I never showed a hitter
just because of the respect.
Just absolutely the respect. Yeah. And that's what I was taught early on, to respect this game. And that's, I believe, the biggest thing that these guys don't have, the commissioner on down, is the respect for the game that we all have. You couldn't have it. But not even close to what the respect. They have no respect, or they wouldn't be changing the game like they have.
What was it who taught you, or how'd you learn to respect the game the way that you did?
Coaching. All the coaches in the big leagues, you know, that torch that was passed for over 100 years has stopped being passed. And that's what I say about the alarming, my knowledge, that I can't share that with someone. I'm not, they won't let me, because they don't understand how important a mentor is, and how important mentors were to me. Our greatest teachers were the toughest, and they'd put a foot up your ass. Today, if you're a coach in the big leagues, you're a babysitter. That's all you are.
Yeah, I mean, a baseball manager, they even tell
and
him
a manager,
that.
And a manager, you're a puppet. That's all you are. They're going to fill out the lineup, and you're going to bring it down, and you're going to play whoever, and you're going to answer to the press, and that's all you are. Well, a third base coach, that's all you are. Is you don't have any input and say in the way the game is run. You question anything about what they're doing, why they're doing it, you're going to be fired.
Yeah.
They're going to replace you with someone else that'll keep their mouth shut.
Well, and you got players making 50 to 70 million a year, some of them as high as, and you got a manager making 900,000. It's hard for that manager to.
That's not it. It's a lack of respect that these kids have for the game, because they weren't taught it.
Yeah.
And the way they flip bats and do the shit that they do, you know, the lack of respect. And
if a guy ever showed,
they say now it's entertainment. Yeah, well, whatever, you can call it whatever you want to, and you can ruin this game the way you're ruining it and taking it down the tubes.
Yeah. Did you ever have to throw at a guy to teach him respect?
I drilled 3 guys intentionally. 2 of them deserved it, and 1 of them didn't. All I was doing deserved, meaning I was protecting my guys.
Yeah, they threw at you guys first.
They had it coming. They knew it too.
Yeah.
And the shit started. The shit stopped with me.
Sure.
Nobody fucked with us.
Were you the hardest thrower in the league for a couple of years?
We had a lot of hard throwers. They don't talk about that anymore. All they talk about now is the gun and long drive and get the gun. There it is. Long drive and throwing hard. Those are 2 things that really don't. They're one facet of the game. If you can throw hard and you know what the hell you're doing with it, it's a mofo.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're doing with it and can't command it, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And if you can't keep it in the grid, the long drive, it's irrelevant.
Who was the best manager you ever played for?
I had the privilege of playing for some fantastic Chuck Tanner, my first manager in the big leagues, was amazing. My God.
Did Billy Martin coach you at the Yankees, or who was your coach
My
there?
greatest manager, yeah, he's my least favorite, probably Billy Martin.
Did you guys clash?
I hated him.
How come?
Oh, because he was the worst drunk you've ever been around.
Really?
Yeah.
He would show up to games drunk?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk about him.
No,
He's
that's
not here
okay.
to defend himself.
Sure.
But he was my least favorite
of
all my managers. And I had no respect for him because he just pulled some shenanigans that way crossed the line.
Yeah.
Way crossed it. Yeah. So that was a tumultuous relationship. Dick Williams was probably my greatest. I don't hate to even say it because I loved Chuck Tanner so much, and he was he's the one that gave me the start in the bullpen.
Okay.
And but Dick Williams was
that
and to go into the Hall of Fame with Dick Williams in '08 was one of the
he went in with you.
Was one of the highlights of my whole career.
That's amazing.
Was being part of that with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What take us back to that day? How special was that to be able to know that and I think you were one of only 8 relief pitchers to ever make the Hall of Fame, I believe.
Oh, I don't think is there 8 even in the
I don't know. I think there's now, I think.
Yeah, the 6 now. Yeah.
But I mean, to be able to get to that point, to know that you hit the pinnacle of, your career, what was that feeling?
It's out of body. It is something that I've said I will never come to grips with it. I will never understand and come to grips with me being in the Hall of Fame. Who'd have thunk it? All you want to do is put a big league uniform on one time, and then the one time turns into 22 years, and the career that I had, oh my God, we had a great saying in baseball. Baseball's made up of players who have been humbled and those that soon will be. Mm-hmm. It's just like life. Mm-hmm. How we deal with failure. And there's so much failure in baseball, and learning and keeping that attitude and keeping going 0 for 20, and perseverance, all the things that make us great in life make us great in baseball.
Yeah. What would you guys do back then, you guys were traveling and spending all this different time as players. Do you have some favorite, stories or something you could share of like just the time when you're traveling with the team and the players?
Well, no, not just one, many. But I will tell you this, that when I retired, I didn't retire. I faded in and I faded out. The 94, the strike got me. But something was going to get me. That's not an excuse. What was your question?
Well, I just wonder if you have a favorite story you could share from your time at...
Well, nothing was going to replace me facing that hitter. Mm-hmm. Wow. In a bases loaded or big situation like I did time after time after time after time after time after time, inherited runners. Wow, every situation was game on the line. Wow, and thrilling and the second thing that I missed was the camaraderie. Nothing was going to replace me facing that hitter in a big situation, but the guys.
Yeah.
That's what I missed.
Do you have a favorite teammate?
The camaraderie. So many. 9 teams.
Yeah, and you played on almost every season.
I loved every team that I played on. I can count on one hand and have fingers left over the bad teammates that I had. Yeah. There it is. It's so many good ones. All the guys it's a fraternity. It was amazing. That was the second thing that I missed most was the clubhouse and living with those guys for 8 months. Our favorite saying at the end of the season was, "Fuck you. Now we can pick our own fucking friends."
What was the difference between the teams that succeeded and maybe the ones that didn't win as many games?
Management.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing what pieces of the puzzle to go get.
Would you know when the manager didn't understand the team?
Those were the scouts. That's why Cashman doesn't know jack shit. Mm-hmm. He's got these guys paying What did he pay for the big hitter? What, Stanton?
Stanton, yeah.
What a joke.
Yeah, can't even get him on the film.
What a joke. What he should be fired for that.
Yeah.
He's a joke.
I'd
like to punch him right in the goddamn nose. That's what I'd like to do, right in the fucking nose, Cashman, you dickhead. Send that to his ass.
I love it. Where do you ever go back to Yankees games? Do you ever go watch them? No.
No. I'll go back this fall for an appearance that a guy wants me to come to Yankee Stadium and engage with his clients.
Did you have a good relationship with the Yankees of the turn of the century when they were winning all the World Series, the Jeter and Tino Martinez, Paul O'Neill, those guys?
Yeah. Jeter's my favorite player of the modern day players.
Explain why.
Was just because of the way he handled himself professionally. He's a class act. His whole family. Yeah. What the career that kid had and stayed clean
with the pressure he had,
all the pressure, but just playing in New York, being out, and being a single guy and never having any issues.
It's true. It's pretty. When you see his roster, it's pretty amazing the amount of women that he dated, but it never leaked anything out. He never had scandals and things like that.
Never. Yeah. I mean, he's as classy a guy and I love the guy, and now he's got his family and the girls, and he's just a joy to be around, really. He's a class act. And,
that's cool to hear.
And most of those guys were. All those guys. Mariano's a great guy. I don't mean to badmouth Mariano. Let's call a spade. That's all. Yeah. That's all I'm doing. They've fallen all over themselves with these one-inning guys because they're so dominant in that one-inning role. They forgot what everybody used to do, starters and relievers. Man, oh man, don't even go there. Check the stats. Cashman, turn me into a liar. You can't. And all your 8 nerds and 10 nerds that are following you around when you stop and they run their noses up your ass. Oh, it's a joke. You're a joke.
I love it. You're an entertaining guy, Goose. I can see why so many people, enjoy and have fun stories with you. How'd you get the nickname Goose, by the way?
My first roommate in the big leagues, Tom Bradley, a veteran pitcher, single guy. When I made the club, he said, "Hey, where are you going to live in Chicago?" I said, "I have no idea. I'm out of A-ball. I'm green behind the ears." And he said, I have a 2-bedroom apartment. You want to share it?" I said, "Sure." And so after about a week, he goes, "You need a nickname." So he called me Goss, and that didn't stick. He goes, "I don't like Goss." He goes, "You know what? You look like a goose." I said, "How the hell did you come up with that?" He goes, "When you take your sign, you stick your neck way out, and it gets about that long." And he goes, "You look like a goose."
That's good. Well, it fits you. It's one of the better nicknames I think I've ever heard. But how did you guys stay out of trouble with, so many people coming at you when you were, going city to city? How'd you stay out of trouble?
One of the greatest, one night in Kansas City, but there were lots of nights. But this was early on, and Nettles and I are in this hula hands. And I'll never forget it. And there's about 6 or 8 Royals fans. Nettles and I are at the bar having a beer. And these guys are on me about giving up the home run to Brett, right? And I mean, they're really relentless. I'm ready to plow into him, right? I'm ready to go get him. And Nettles looks at me and he goes, he knew I'm doing the slow burn, right? He goes, "Hey," he goes, "we're going to trick those assholes." I looked at him like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We're not going to hit them." It was the truest words and some of the greatest words that have ever been spoken to me. Trick them, don't hit them. We had those guys eating out of our hands. By the time, in another half hour, this has been going on an hour already. And we were just ignoring them, and that's what you did. But I was about ready to plow into them, and Nettles told me that. And pretty soon they were coming up and apologizing. We avoided a big scene. The bartender was ready to jump in with us to help kick their asses because they were so bad. And kill them with kindness.
That's beautiful.
It was beautiful. And I learned a very valuable lesson at that time, And it could have got really ugly. And it took a lot for me to get to the point of I want to go kick their ass, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. What's the best advice you have for a young, man that maybe wants to become a baseball player one day?
Work, perseverance. It's a game of failure. It is the hardest game on the planet to play. Mm-hmm. Golf, I can go to the driving range. Baseball is a hard game to practice on your own. You can go hit, but the game situation stuff, you can go play golf and work on it. It's a process too.
Yeah.
50 guys get it. The top 50 get it, and then there's 10,000 chasing them that don't get everything. Mm-hmm. Baseball is the same way. You either get a lot of things and understand the failure first. How I deal with shitting the bed in front of 50,000 people, coming in the next night and shitting. Now I got 2 shit the beds going. How I deal with that is really, really remarkable and a process. Yeah. I've got to figure it out or I'm going to be home doing something else.
Well, you had this Hall of Fame career. Again, just, one of the all-time saves leaders, one of the best relief pitchers to ever play the game. What are you most proud of your entire career?
Longevity.
Yeah.
Doing it year in and doing it year out, time after time. That's the mark of a great player.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it once, and then the pressure comes of once you do it, they expect it. There's the pressure.
Yeah.
And you expect it. Now, with those expectations comes self-destruction. We're our own worst enemies. Wow, you either get it or you don't. And you persevere and you play on, or you go do something else.
How do you come back when you're down? Because you've had some huge moments. You've had some very low moments as a baseball player, right?
That's it. How you deal with failure. Failure. That's failure. Shit in the bed in front of 50,000 goddamn people. How you going to handle that? I'm going to be home doing something else because this shit's real. And it's huge. It is huge. And you either figure it out or you're going to be home doing something else. And all the guys, I wish I had $1 for every kid that came through that bullpen. I'd be rich. That could not transition electric shit. They had electric stuff, breaking balls, fastballs. Wow. 100 miles an hour, boom, boom, movement, everything. Never hear of them again.
It's true. Well, Goose.
So many.
Been a pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. For people that want to follow you or your journey, is there a best place to send them to?
No, I'm not a social guy, really. I mean, I'm not hiding. People find me. I answer all my fan mail. I get so much heartfelt 3-page letters written to me, handwritten.
That's beautiful.
Is just what we meant to these people and our fans.
Yeah.
Our fans are what the game is all about. And I don't think there's enough emphasis put today to these young players about what the fans mean to this game.
Yeah.
They're everything.
Well, appreciate you a ton. It was fun watching you, and it's fun to have this conversation. Thanks, Goose.